Okay, hi, hello, dear students. Welcome to my next lecture on General Organic Chemistry GOC number 8. In this lecture, I would like to discuss about the types of optical isomers and the details, and moreover, I'd like to tell what are the important classification of optically active compounds and some formula to calculate the number of optical isomers and all these things details in this lecture. Let us move to the class. Here I want to like to tell one thing, that types of optical isomers are actually optical isomer meaning is, what is the meaning of optical isomer? Usually the compound optical isomer is nothing but is a compound usually these are the compounds. Isomer is a compound which consists of at least one asymmetric carbon, one asymmetric carbon, and that too, that carbon atom is capable of showing the phenomena, okay, at optical isomerism. Such things we will call it as optical isomers. Now we will discuss about the classification. What is the classification here? Is nothing but the compounds are actually classified, types of organic optical isomers are classified into mainly of two types. The one type we will call it as optically active compounds. One type we will call optically active compounds, and other type we will call it as optically inactive compounds. Optically inactive compounds. We will give priority to optically active compounds only. Okay. So we will discuss about optically active compounds first. So what is the meaning of optically active compound? That means these are the compounds which have, the optically active compounds which have the ability to rotate, the compounds which are having ability to rotate the plane polarized light, plane polarized light. In a shortcut manner we will write PPL. It is, they are called as optically active compounds. While that of inactive compounds, what are the inactive compounds? They don't have such ability to rotate. That means they do not have ability to rotate PPL. PPL stands for plane polarized light. Now we will see about optically active compounds only now. Okay. So we don't want inactive compounds discussion in the beginning. So we will discuss once the optically active compounds discussion is completed. Okay. We will see what are the optically active compounds. Actually, these are the optically active compounds are there, na? The optically Optically active compounds. What is the optically active compounds are? I think, but again that compounds are said to be further classified into dextrorotatory and levorotatory. They are classified into dextrorotatory or D, or as per the latest IUPAC nomenclature plus L, which rotates the PPL towards right. That means what are the dextrorotatory compounds? They will rotate the PPL towards right, Coming to the another kind of the optically active compounds, they are called as levorotatory. Also the called L compounds, or we can also put minus rotation. What are these compounds? Nothing but they will rotate the PPL, plane of polarized light, towards left. That is why we are calling their levorotatory minus. Okay, now we will see the details about inactive compounds. Now, what are inactive compounds? Optically inactive compounds. Optically inactive compounds. Actually, in this optically inactive compounds, we have one form that is called as one compound form that is called as mesoform. First, we'll learn about mesoform in this one. The second one we will call it as racemic mixture, and the first we are discussing about the mesoform. What is exactly the mesoform? But this is the compound. Mesoforms are also compounds which possess plane of polarized plane of symmetry, which possess plane of symmetry within a molecule, and the one half of this molecule in this one half of the molecule is said to be dextro and the rest half is levo, and rest half is levorotatory. What is the meaning of this one is levorotatory. That's why what happens within the molecule. Thus, we can understand that within the molecule, both halves show equal and opposite optical activity. Equal and opposite optical activity, equivalent opposite optical activity. And this phenomena of optical inactivation, this phenomena of optical inactivation in which the rotation produced by rotation produced by one half of the molecule, one half of the molecule is cancelled by its another half is called as its another half is called as internal compensation, internal compensation. And that is why these mesoforms are said to be optically inactive, and this is due to the phenomena that is called as internal compensation. This is the most important point to be noticed. So what is mesoform? The compound which possesses plane of symmetry with a molecule within the molecule. In this, one half of the molecule is dextrorotatory and the rest half is levorotatory. That's why with the molecule, within the molecule, what happens? Both halves show equal and opposite optical activity, and that phenomena of optical inactivation is also called as internal compensation, because the rotation produced by one half of the molecule is cancelled by its another half is called as internal compensation. So understand what is mesoform. For this, we have best example is there. That best example we will see, that is called as tartaric acid. We'll talk about tartaric acid now. Tartaric acid and its mesoform, how it will exhibit, we'll check it off. So this tartaric acid is having carboxylic, dicarboxylic. So there are two carboxylic acid functional groups are there in this structure with the carbons like this, and even OH groups in the opposite direction, they are present in this one structure we have. This is the structure. Optically active forms, actually this is optically active form. The another one, if you write the reversely this OH and all these things, then you can write this as mirror image now like this. This is H, OH, OH, H. Now, if you keep that optically active forms like this, there is no problem. They will show optical activity. But means these two are said to be optically active forms. Optically active forms. Whereas, if you see this tartaric acid in different manner like this, now I am showing here, what will happens, these hydrogen atoms and OH groups, how they present when you write a line of symmetrization like this. So this is what we can call, it's a line of symmetrization. Because of this one, what will happens, this mesotartaric acid is will become optically inactive in this form. This is called as mesotartaric acid. You can observe 50% of this of structure is having a mirror image of the another 50%. So they are superimposable each other. So one half, first half, assume this is second half. So what will happens? Both will be undergoing a kind of superimposability. So mirror images. That means optical inactivity is developed in this mesotartaric acid within the molecule. This is one best example to understand what is the mesoform, and mesoforms are nothing but optically inactive compounds. Although they are having some optically active forms, but the optically active forms are changed to mesoform in this observation we have done. So that is internal compensation is the one of the point here we have discussed in mesoforms. Okay. Let us discuss about another one. That is what we can say that first form of the type of the optically active inactive compound. The next one we're going to discuss about racemic mixture in the optically inactive compounds. That is called as racemic mixture. So what is exactly the meaning of racemic mixture? These are the equimolar mixture here. This is a equimolar mixture of two optically active forms, of two optically active forms, of a compound is called as racemic mixture. Racemic mixture. Okay, and this mixture is optically inactive. Why this is comes under optically inactive is this mixture is optically inactive as both the forms neutralize the effect of one another. Both the forms neutralize the effect of one another. Such a neutralization effect is called such a neutralization effect is called external compensation. That is called as external compensation. So what will happen? Thus, racemic mixtures are optically inactive. Optically inactive due to the process of external compensation. Due to the process of external compensation. If you see an example now for the racemic mixture, that is a D form. For example, if you write phenyl group here and amine group here on top, this is CH3. This is actually 50% of the compound, which is called as D form, dextrorotatory. Another one, we will keep it here, mirror, and another one you can write it off like this, pH. This is now called is 50% again, which is called as L form. L form. Got it? So what is racemic mixture? Equimolar mixture of two optically active forms of a compound is called as racemic mixture. So this is nothing but a racemic mixture. Racemic mixture, and this mixture shows optical inactivity due to external compensation. What is external compensation? Both these forms neutralize the effect of one another. That is called as external compensation. The concept involved in this one, this is optically, this mixture is optically inactive. That reason is nothing but, what is the reason? External compensation. External compensation. Okay, so this is nothing but external compensation. So hope you understand what is the discussion we have done now is types of optical isomers. Types of optical isomers. Okay, and not only that one, we have observed mesoform and what is exactly the racemic form in this discussion. Okay, let us discuss about resolution of racemic mixture now. Now we are going to discuss about resolution of a racemic mixture. Resolution of racemic mixture. Here what will happen? This resolution is nothing but separation of racemic mixture. What is the meaning of this one is, if you separate, that means the separation of racemic mixture is done, that is called as resolution. Here the two things are there. Enantiomers, one point here in the discussion is called as enantiomer. Enantiomer differ in the chemical action. In the chemical action with optically active substance. With the optically active substance. Whereas pure enantiomer of a reagent, pure enantiomer of a reagent can be used for the separation of a racemic mixture. Separation of racemic mixture, that we will discuss now. So what is the meaning of separation of racemic mixture? That is called as resolution. For that we will use enantiomers. Pure type of enantiomers are said to be used for the separation of racemic mixture. Now you will understand the concept using an example now. That is, what is the concept in this one is resolution by means of diastereomeric salts. Diastereomeric salts, that we will see now. Two things we will see. The one thing is called as diastereomers. How will make the resolution of the racemic mixture. This is one of the most useful procedures actually for separating enantiomers. This is one of the most useful procedures for separating enantiomers. Okay, this method is actually based on allowing racemic mixture form. What is the meaning of this one is, this is the method used is based on allowing a racemic form, to react with a single enantiomer of some other compound, This changes the racemic mixture into a racemic mixture into A mixture of diastereomers. A mixture of diastereomers. So diastereomers have different. That's why diastereomers are having different melting point. They have different melting points. They have different boiling points, and they have different solubilities. So that's why they can be separated by conventional methods also, and that's why easily diastereomers can be separated. Okay, diastereomeric recrystallization is one such common method. What is the method is diastereomeric recrystallization is one such common method. Okay, so what we understand from this one is one of the resolution process by means of diastereomer salts, how you will be understand is one of the most useful procedures for separating enantiomers is resolution by means of diastereometric salts. And this method actually based on allowing a racemic form to react with a single enantiomeric of some other compound, and that changes the racemic mixture into a mixture of diastereomers. They have different melting points, boiling points, solubilities. That's why they can be easily separated by using diastereomeric recrystallization methods. For this, we will understand the racemic mixture now with the example earlier taken, that is NH2 pH HCH3. The another one, that is NH2 pH HCH3, and these are now added to a pure enantiomer. Here the enantiomers, we want to separate these enantiomers, adding a pure enantiomer like this compound COH. If you take, this is a pure enantiomer, and this first mixture is, this is the first two compounds we have taken as racemic mixture. Racemic mixture, and from this we can obtain one thing, that the compound, the enantiomer will give the proton, and that will become, this is pH CH3H, this will become COO minus, whereas one of the enantiomer takes the hydrogen, it will become NH3 plus CH3H pH. Another one, again the enantiomeric ionic form is there, that will again react with another compound, and that's why what will happens, these two are said to be pair of diastereomers separated by fractional crystallization or through chromatography. These are the other one, The ionic form is nothing but NH3 plus HCH3 pH. So what are these two things? That they are a pair of diastereomers, and they can be separated by fractional crystallization. Fractional crystallization, or through chromatographic methods are there. Using that we can separate them. So this is about racemic mixture. Resolution of a racemic mixture. Hope you understand what is the resolution of a racemic mixture. What is resolution? Separation of a racemic mixture. So what is racemic mixture? Equimolar mixture of two optically active forms. So they can be separated by using diastereomeric salts. So we have taken diastereomeric salts, that is a pure enantiomer with racemic mixture. We got the idea about what is resolution. Now we'll start understanding about what is the classification of optically active compounds. Classification of optically active compounds. Okay. Here, optically active compounds actually, contrary to enantiomers, the two diastereomers have different melting points and boiling points and solubilities. They have different chemical properties, activities towards most of the reagents. That's why they show difference in the physical and as well as in chemical properties. So on the basis of mirror images relation and superimposability, optically active compounds are now said to be classified into enantiomers and diastereomers. The first one we will call enantiomers. Enantiomers. Let us talk about enantiomers. What are enantiomers? They are optically active compounds which are non-superimposable mirror images of each other. Okay, they are called as enantiomers. These are stable compounds. Actually, what are enantiomers? These are stable compounds. Stable compounds differ in three-dimensional spatial arrangement. Three-dimensional spatial arrangement. Okay. The other one, they are said to be having identical properties. They are said to be having identical properties in all respect. In all respect, in their interaction with plane polarized light. And also you can understand that enantiomers are not said to be converted under ordinary conditions. So these cannot be interconverted under ordinary conditions. Under ordinary conditions. That is the main thing involved in enantiomers. So enantiomers are optically active compounds, non-superimposable mirror images of each other, and they are said to be stable compounds, differ in three-dimensional spatial arrangements. They have identical properties in all respect in their interaction with plane polarized light. They cannot be interconverted under ordinary conditions. So this is the main thing learning about enantiomers, which is a classification of optically active compounds. Now we'll talk about diastereomers. Actually, in contrary to enantiomers, diastereomers have different melting boiling points and solubilities. They have different chemical reactivities towards most reagents. That's why they show difference in physical as well as in chemical properties. So what is the importance of diastereomers? They are optically active compounds. They are non-superimposable mirror images. Superimposable mirror images isomers. Actually non-superimposable mirror isomers we can call. Mirror isomers, which are called as diastereomers. In this, things to learn in this one is even geometry isomers are said to be diastereomers, because diastereomers may be separated each other by fractional distillation. All these things we learned, and in this diastereomers, non-mirror image isomers are diastereomers, whereas enantiomers optical active compounds which are non-superimposable mirror images of each other. But diastereomers can be anything. That means they may not be belongs to the same compound, different compounds. Non-mirror image compounds are there. They are all comes under diastereomers. In this, we have two things are there. Two important types are there. The one type we'll call it as epimers. The another type we'll call it as ionomers. Epimers and ionomers. We'll learn about epimers now. That is pair of diastereomers. Epimers are nothing but the pair of diastereomers which differ in configuration about a single about a single interstitial carbon atom. They are called as epimers. We'll see example for this one. We'll see example for this epimers now. Here L-glucose, we will take an example. We will understand the epimer example in this one. This is L-glucose. So this one more mannose is also another example. We are taking here CH2OH it is. First one is L galactose, L glucose, first one is, and second one what we are writing is L mannose. In this, if you observe this highlighting, that means what we are showing now, the carbon atoms here, epimeric carbon atoms, these are epimeric carbon atoms showing interstitial condition here. Interstitial condition. Whereas the rest of the structure, both in the compounds exactly same. Rest of the structure of both the compounds is exactly the same. You can observe rest of this one is completely same. These are called as epimers. Like that we have sorbitol and mannitol also. The examples you can try it. Sorbitol and mannitol, and check it off in yourself. Okay. So this is about epimers. Now we'll discuss about anomers. Discuss about anomers. So what are the anomers? Anomers are but a pair of diastereomers that differ only in configuration about a single terminal carbon atom, about a single terminal carbon atom. But in epimers, that is quite different. Interstitial carbon we observe, that means the next to the function group we observed top side. But in this anomers, the carbon atom is terminal carbon atom. For example, if you take a ring forms of sugars are said to be enantiomers, anomeric forms. They are said to be anomeric forms. For example, we will take this alpha glucose. First we will take alpha glucose. This is 4 times will come CHOH. Yeah, 3 times will come, and in this one, this will be attached to one terminal carbon, CH2OH. Another, this thing we will call it as alpha glucose. Similarly, we will write one more, that is beta glucose. We will write now 3 times. Here also you can check the other than the terminal, rest of the compound is same. Now you observe this part, green part I am just marking here. That is a terminal carbon. This is a terminal carbon. That means this carbon we will call it as anomeric carbon. Anomeric carbons. The rest of the structure of both the compounds is exactly same. Alpha glucose and beta glucose. So this is the meaning of anomeric forms. So what is anomeric forms? Anomeric forms are nothing but a pair of diastereomers that differ only in configuration about a single terminal carbon. We have alpha glucose, and another one we observed here, that is beta glucose. They are the examples of this diastereomers. Okay. Now we will check the examples. Now one more category of examples to conclude this session. That is example of enantiomers and diastereomers. And diastereomers. So after learning about enantiomers and diastereomers, enantiomers are optically active compounds which are non-superimposable mirror images of each other. Diastereomers are said to be non-superimposable isomers, but they have different melting and boiling properties and all present. Where that of enantiomers, they have identical properties with respect to the interaction with the plane of polarized light, and even separation cases also they are different. So now we'll see examples, some figures. I am writing some carbon chains here to distinguish the enantiomeric forms and diastereomeric forms. This is A dash, this is B dash. Another carbon, if you write it, then you can also write some X dash like this. And if you give a mirror onto this one, what will happen? This mirror gives an image now. This first one I am taking is 1. What is the mirror image? We'll check it off. This is the mirror image I am writing. Okay, this is our figure number 2. So first two things are enantiomeric pairs actually. These are called as enantiomeric pairs. You will see another picture with a different manner, that is arrangement of the groups of atoms. The carbon chain will change it. Here I am writing A dash. I am writing B dash B. I am writing X dash. See, like that of first one. If you consider the terminal carbon, anomeric carbon I have changed. The same thing, I can revert the anomeric carbon only. You can check it off by means of taking the mirror image only. These mirror images are non-superimposable. Here also we have Z dash, you write A dash A, B dash B, X dash X, B dash here, 1 minute, yeah, you'll be getting B dash here. So nothing is matches with the other thing. So we have third figure and fourth figure. If you observe, they are also enantiomeric pairs only. Non-superimposable mirror images. At the point is nothing but here the structure of all the four figures is same, but the spatial arrangement of groups differ in the first figure and second figure, first diagram and second diagram. That's why they are enantiomeric. Similarly, third one and fourth one, if you take third one, fourth one, they are enantiomeric. However, first one and third one, if you observe, that means if you observe the first one and third one, what happens? First one is diastereomeric with figure 3 and 4. Diastereomeric with figure 3 and 4. Why? Because we have discussed about epimers and anomers. In the case of anomers, if you observe that terminal carbons of first one and third one showing the anomeric forms. Okay. That's why what we observed here is diastereomers are 1, 3 and 1, 4 are diastereomers. So 1, 3 and 1, 4 diastereomers. And while that of they have, because they have same molecular formula, different optical behavior, not the mirror image of each other. Coming to figure 2, figure 2 is said to be having a diastereomeric nature with the fourth one and third one. So 2, 4, 2, 3, 2, 3 and 2, 4, the pairs are said to be 2, 3 are diastereomers. 2, 4 also diastereomers. So diastereomers number is more than the enantiomers number. Here in these diagrams, first one and second one are enantiomeric pairs, and third one and fourth one enantiomeric pairs. But diastereomeric pairs are here 1, 3, 1, 4, 2, 3, 2, 4. They are the diastereomeric pairs. Okay. This is an example for enantiomerics and diastereomers we have observed. So let us conclude this session with this the last point, that is formula to calculate the number of optical isomers. Number of optical isomers. The first point in this one is, in molecules with stepwise we will understand. In molecules, first step is, in molecules with n number of asymmetric carbon atoms, asymmetric carbon atoms, and which are not divisible into two equal halves, and which are not divisible into two equal halves. Why? Because if it happen, they will become even mesomeric forms also. That's why the condition is given like this. So in this case, number of optically active forms, number of optically active forms can be calculated using the formula 2 power n. You can also take this is A in this case. And at the same time, number of enantiomeric pairs can be calculated. Number of enantiomeric pairs can be calculated by dividing this A with 2, A by 2. Similarly, racemic mixtures also the same. Racemic mixtures also the same, that is A by 2. In this particular case, we have a mesomeric form number is 0. That means number of mesoforms, that should be 0, as the condition is telling that which are not divisible into equal halves. This is the first step. Okay. Understand? In a molecule with n number of asymmetric carbon atoms, this will be existing. Let us move to the next one. Second one. In the second case, I am going to talk about the point okay, we will see the second point, that is, in a molecule which are divisible into two halves, in a molecule which are divisible into two halves. That means in a molecule, n number of asymmetric carbons are there, then they are divided into two halves, equal halves. That two equal halves. Then we have two cases are there. What is the case? One is, in this one is number of optical forms. Number of optically active forms can be calculated using the A is equals to 2 power n minus 1. A is equals to 2 power n minus 1. In this case, number of enantiomeric forms, number of enantiomeric as well as number of racemic mixtures is nothing but A by 2. And coming to the other one, number of mesoforms here can be calculated using m symbol. M is equals to 2 power n by 2 minus 1. This is the formula I would use. That means what the total number of configurational isomers in this one is? The total number of configurational isomers in this case will be taking by A plus M formula. Use this you have to practice. Another one, case 2. When it comes to case 2, we have number of optically active forms given as number of optically active forms given as A, that is equals to 2 power n minus 1 minus 2 power n minus 1 by 2. Here the number of enantiomeric pairs is given as equals to A by 2, whereas number of racemic mixtures also given as A by 2. But in this case, number of mesoforms given as m is equals to 2 power n minus 1 by 2. Okay. So that means what is the total number of configurational isomers in this case? Again the same. Total number of configurational isomers is A plus M. This is the formula. So we have observed that formula to calculate number of optical isomers is 2 power n. If there are no two halves, equal halves are there. If they have divisible into two equal halves, then two cases arises. The case 1, optical active compounds formula is 2 power n minus 1 and racemic mixture A by 2 and enantiomeric form A by 2. If you take this is A is 2 power n minus 1 and the number of mesomers will be 2 and total configuration isomers is A plus M. And that other case we have optically active are nothing but 2 power n minus 1 minus 2 power n minus 2. What is the difference in the two cases? The first case we have n is nothing but even number. And the second case we have n is nothing but odd number. So this is the difference. And in second case, number of optically actives are calculated by using 2 power n minus 1 minus 2 power n minus 1 by 2. And the number of enantiomeric pairs and racemic mixtures is same. Mesoforms is 2 power n minus 1 by 2. Total number of configuration isomers is A plus M. So A plus M is the formula. So if you take the number of optically active compounds in the case 2, it will come 2 power n minus 1. Okay. And as case 1 case, number of optically active compounds, this is differing because here there is no cancellation process in A plus M, but in case 2 we have cancellation process. That's why when the n is odd number, then the number of configuration isomers equals to optically active forms. That is the case 2 we have observed. Okay, in this session we have discussed about the content related to the optically active compounds, inactive compounds. In that active compounds, the classification, enantiomers and diastereomers, and moreover we have given the details about what is mesoformum racemic mixture in the optically inactive compounds. Well, the classification of optically active compounds cases divided them into enantiomers and diastereomers. After that, what is enantiomer, how the properties of enantiomers are said to be identical, and while that of diastereomers are said to be different, that we have discussed with examples. And further classification of diastereomers into epimers and the anomers also we observed with examples like that of sorbitol and mannitol and glucose and mannose. And while some examples related to anomers also, most important examples, anomers and epimers we have observed, diastereomers and enantiomers examples, identification of diastereomers and enantiomers we saw. And finally we observed the calculation of number of optical isomers if the formula is given to us when the molecule is not said to be divisible into two equal halves. We have told 2 power n is the formula to calculate optically active compounds. And if this is divided into two equal halves, then the two cases rise, n value is even number, n value odd number, that we observed. And in that, these all formulas need to be practiced for examinations, and we will see the problems also in the next coming classes on this topic, as well as some measurements of optical activity also we will see in the next session. Until, have a nice day, and prepare this topic, most important for competitive examination, a critical topic, even though first basic information is required. So follow this class, and after that again prepare the textbook. You'll get complete idea about isomerism. Thank you very much.